Hello, everybody. Welcome to a post-practice edition of Hawk Blocker Mornings, really a Seahawks post-training camp practice report. I am Brian Emhauser. I'm here to talk to you about what was a really eventful afternoon here at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. A lot to cover, and I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as I can, but also make sure I honor all the things that really stood out. One of the things I'll say, just as you kind of get acclimated to the setting for today, this was a situation where there was no fans on the berm. This was not a public practice. There were some VIPs and friends and family and stuff like that. So it was much quieter. Music was playing, but it was not very loud. So you're able to hear everything the coaches were saying. And I would have guessed that the intensity would be higher the first day, yesterday, when the fans were there, when all that was going on. There was a lot of pomp and circumstance. The first day back, it was decidedly slower. And as I mentioned after that practice report, those guys, I have a feeling the coaches told them to be at 75% and just kind of ease into it. Today, intensity was significantly higher than it was yesterday, and execution was much sharper. And there was a lot of cool stuff that I got to kind of observe and listen to, especially along the offensive line and the running backs and what they were working on in terms of getting ready for assignments and coordinating their efforts and the coaching that was going on there. So I'll talk about all that. But honestly, the story of the afternoon for me was Jalen Milroe and Sam Darnod. And I know everyone's going to want to turn this into 2012, and this is the rookie that's catching up to the veteran and he's going to overtake him. That's not the story. What happened today was Sam Darnold was excellent today. Made a lot of good throws, made a lot of good decisions, had the offense moving a little bit more, had a number of completions to Cooper Kupp, had some completions to JSN, was hitting all sorts of folks along the way. I thought he had a really nice practice. I think his non-team drill throws are more on time, more accurate, coming out with more velocity. So I just think he has picked up his pace, especially since he's come back from the summer break. And I thought this was one of his better practices. But the other guy that jumped out to me was Jalen Milroe. I mean, I'll go through some of my notes, and you guys are going to see me. I come right from the press conferences, so I haven't had a chance to look at all my notes, and I'll take a second to review some of those. But I mean, Jalen Milroe was completing more passes downfield than any of the other quarterbacks. A lot of the other quarterbacks were having to take some underneath passes because the defense was taking away the deep ball. I'll share a little bit more about that in a bit as well. But Milroe was pushing the ball downfield. As I've told you in the past, his comfort zone is the seam. Like, he zips it into the seam. He's throwing such a pretty ball right now. I cannot articulate for you. I do not have the words to articulate how much different of a player he looks like now than what he looked like in Mobile, Alabama during those practices, where he did not look like someone capable of throwing a football in college, let alone the NFL. He looked really, really remedial would be the word I'd use in Mobile. And today he was zipping passes to the seam. He threw some out routes. And one of the things that was cool is a lot of one of his issues is similar to an issue Sam Darnold has, which is he tends to hunt big plays. So he tends to hold on to the ball a little bit too long. But I even saw some quick outs, which is good to see him process and make a quick throw on time, accurate, and take away the pass rush's ability to get to him. He did all that he did without using his legs. This was not a practice where he was escaping, or I wouldn't call it cheating, but you see a lot of times in these practices, the quarterbacks are not touchable. So they might break the pocket or scramble. The defense usually hates that. I remember the LOB days, the defense would start booing and hooting and hollering when the quarterbacks would do that because, they knew that those were kind of fake yards and they couldn't do anything about it. This was all Jalen Milroe from the pocket, and he was playing well enough. Now, this is my interpretation. I want to be really clear. I didn't get confirmation that this is why, but it was all I could think about because I watched the play and then I watched the replay of the play on the replay board. There was one play later in practice where Jalen Milroe found Ricky White, the third, their 7th round pick receiver out of UNLV, on a deep out. And it was probably a 20, maybe 25-yard gain. I'd say probably about 20. And it was a deep corner, not a deep out. And the throw was a little bit off. It wasn't like terribly off, but Ricky White had to stretch to catch the ball. And then his momentum took him out of bounds. So he wasn't able to turn upfield and what would have probably maybe been a touchdown. And I'm writing my notes about the play, and I look up and I see Jalen Milroe on the sideline doing push-ups and, kind of getting after himself. And I can only imagine the reason he was doing that is because he was not happy that pass was off target. And that's the level of, I think, expectation, the standard that he's shooting for. I think that's fantastic. And the fact that he is out here throwing the football, slinging it around the way he is so early in this training camp, forget about whether or not it means he's going to play this year or that he's going to challenge for a starting spot. I know folks would love that to be a storyline, and I could probably generate all sorts of clicks and views with that. That's not what I'm trying to do. I think the significance of what I'm seeing from Jalen Milroe is the projectability of him. Like, all he needs to do is be a good passer. He does not need to be an elite passer to be a quality NFL starter. His legs are so lethal. He is such a danger on the ground that if he is a good passer, if he is a good processor, if he's making good decisions, if he's accurate, I mean, this guy's going to be a huge weapon for the Seahawks and maybe the biggest steal of the 2024 draft. So the arrow's certainly up for Jalen Milroe, and really, really excited to see that continued progression. I'd also say it was a great day for the rookie class overall. Torrey Horton had a number of great catches today. There was one play in particular that stood out to me. This is a guy that threatens with his legs and obviously is very fast. I think he's a pretty dang good route runner as well. But the play I'm thinking about, he caught about a 15-yard pass right on the hash, the left hash, and it was him sitting down in a zone. He saw the hole in the zone. He throttled down, and it was an easy throw for the quarterback. And that's like a savviness that I think people talk so much about the athletic ability that Torrey Horton brings. I think he's also pretty darn smart and has a really good feel for the position. So that was a good example of him not just using his athleticism to beat somebody, but using his head and using his football instinct. So it was good to see Torrey Horton, step forward today. I asked Sam Darnold about Torrey Horton after practice, and he said he's fast. He's fast. And so that's good to hear from QB1. And it wasn't just Torrey Horton. It was also Elijah Arroyo. Once again, second straight day that he's made some impressive catches in tight coverage. Today, Reek Woolen tipped a ball up in the air, and Elijah Arroyo, without skipping a beat, plucked it out of the air for a completion. This was on a long crossing pattern, and it was a nice play. I'm going to check my notes because he had a number of plays for me that were pretty nice. Looking through here. Yeah, he had a nice catch over the middle with Drake Thomas in coverage. The tipped pass I already talked about. So there was a number of plays that I thought Elijah Arroyo, stood out and had a nice practice as well. There's another guy, a rookie that probably no one's ever heard of or mentioned other than I mentioned him yesterday because he had a decent pass rush yesterday that would have been a sack. His name's Jalen Gaines. Jalen Gaines, I think he's number 56 out there, is playing an edge role, and yesterday he had what would have been a great pass rush and sack. Today he had what would have been a run stop, and he let everybody know about it. I think he's one to watch. I don't know that he's a guy that's going to make the 53, but this is an undrafted free agent that I think has I think stood out in his first 2 days and has a real shot of the practice squad and who knows what else. We'll see what happens once he gets into the regular season. But Jalen Gaines did well today. Other rookies, I mean, gosh, there's a long list. I thought Damian Martinez had a nice practice. Again, without pads, it's a little hard to really tell how people are running, but I just love the way he moves, getting in and out of his cuts. And I mean, Nicky Minwori, there's nothing I would say that stood out. They were really working on some run fits and seeing him kind of just get to the right place. We were asking Devin Witherspoon about him after practice, and he's just like, he's going to be a great player. He's strong, he's fast, he's big, you know. So Spoon's bought in, but I can't say there was a play that Witherspoon, or sorry, that Nick made that really jumped out to me. Robbie Oots pretty much seems like he's got the fullback position on lock. It wasn't necessarily a bunch of plays that stood out, but I will tell you that you know, there was a great moment where they were doing drills with the offensive line and the running backs, fullbacks, tight ends, and they were really just working on installs of like, okay, here's the call, here's the blocking scheme, here's who has to pick up who, and getting to the next level. And a lot of it even was the running backs having to do pass protection and picking up blitzers and stuff like that. And Kennedy Palomalu was coaching up the backs, as he does. That's his job. And he made a point to call out Robbie Oots. I think I wrote the exact quote. He's like, I love the way you're attacking the outside shoulder. You know, don't let that guy get up and penetrate. You're doing it exactly the right way. So, you know, that was a kudo that he was giving out. And if you think all these coaches are just the Pete Carroll era coaches who are always positive, that came not more than 60 seconds after I heard Kennedy Palomalu light up a player. I'm going to leave the player. I'm not going to put him on blast who it was. I will tell you it's not one of the starting running backs, but Kennedy Palomalu says, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about? And the player was acting like it was a running play and running through the line. And he's like, you're supposed to be blitz pickup. And I think it happened maybe a second time. He's like, get out of there. He pulled him off. He's like, what's going on, man? So he was on guys. He had, as they were going through this drill, he was just like telling everybody taking reps, even if you're not out there physically, you're taking reps. And so they were really trying to get people bought in. Listening to John Benton earlier in practice, working with the offensive line exclusively, and they're still working on installs of the wide zone and the run blocking. And he was interacting primarily with the centers, so Olu, Jalen Sundell, and they would have players, like really coaches, positioned as if they were key defenders, like checks that they have to look at. And when they're in certain positions, and then Benton would give them the offensive play call, the blocking scheme, and the centers would have to basically identify where the position of the defenders were and make the line call to adjust the blocking and who's going to get who's going on to the next level, all that kind of stuff. And they're doing this at, you know, quarter speed. You know, this is not full speed kind of stuff. But watching them work through that and watching, like, Olu's in real command of what's going on there. Jalen was in good command and they were learning what's going on. So I don't know. I found it very encouraging just to watch the level of specificity that is going on with the coaching and the offensive line, and the speed at which they're doing it. Continues to be, you know, rotation going on at right guard. And you're going to see, I think today was mostly, you're going to see Christian Haynes and Anthony Bradford, and they both took turns and doing their thing. And we'll see where that ends up. Jalen Sundell, a lot at center, you know, but moving around, can be used in a lot of places. So, I mean, that competition is pretty fierce. And I mean, I don't know where it's going to end up. My best guess is that Olu is going to be your starting center. And I think that really leaves right guard is where there's a question mark. But otherwise, you know, I think that group is coming together. I will say, you know, this is a padless practice. You're not supposed to really be making serious contact. later on in practice, there were some physical plays where guys were ending up on the ground. More times than not, if a defender ends up on the ground, in this case it was Jaron Reed, it's Anthony Bradford that's on the other side of that. And that happened today. He's just a big dude. He's a physical road grading run blocker when he's engaged. And even in these kind of practices, he's a lot to handle. So I don't know how that's going to play out. His pass protection has absolutely been where his biggest issue is. I think his fitness level has been an issue. I don't think that's as much of an issue right now. He moves for a guy that big, but his run blocking, I don't know, man. I don't think there's really a question that he's one of the best run blockers on that line. I just think he's a guy that could be a difference-making run blocker. To be able to do that, he has to be able to actually stay on the field in pass pro and do well there. That's been the question. We'll see. Pads have got to be coming pretty soon, and we'll see 1v1 pass rush drills. We'll see how Anthony Bradford holds up in those situations against the likes of Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy and Jaron Reed and all those other guys that are going to be coming at him at the guard spot. So we'll see. I forgot one other part when Kennedy Palomalu was lighting up this running back for missing what he was supposed to be his assignment in the drill. The running back said to him, after he said that, like, he said, "Hey man, what are you doing? Where's your head at?" And he's like, "I got you." And Kennedy Palomalu says, "You don't got me. You don't got me. Like, you got to get this right." So, I mean, it was entertaining, but also, good that there's an accountability there for how they want that run. A lot. And like I said, Nick Emmanwori didn't necessarily have a lot of big plays, but man, they were running big nickel a lot. He was out there a lot. And I think that's, early days. I think they're still evaluating whether they're going to be better off in nickel coverage, nickel package or big nickel package. Again, the difference being nickel when Devin Witherspoon's in the slot and Josh Job's playing outside, or big nickel is when Nicky Manwari's in the slot and Witherspoon and Woolen are inside. I think they're still figuring that out, but I think there's not much doubt that he's going to be utilized quite a bit in that. There was a lot of spirited moments with both sides, defense, both sides of the ball, defense and offense. There was a coach who, after Sam Darnold, this was in a 7v7 drill, he checked it down to AJ Barner, and a coach yelled out, "Yeah, Kobe," talking about Kobe Bryant. He's like, "Check down, yeah, Kobe." And so the defense is taking a lot of pride in forcing those underneath passes. The offense is trying to be disciplined and taking what is available. I think both those things are good. There was an interception by DeAnthony Bell. I think that was I'm pretty sure that was a Sam Darnold throw. It was down the field, and DeAnthony Bell was retreating back in zone and got underneath the throw and grabbed it and took off, and defense erupted, was freaking out. So, that was a loud and boisterous play. And then offensively, later in practice, there was a play where Anthony Bradford and Jalen Sundell were in. Sundell was at center, Bradford was at right guard, and the rest of them were the starters. So you have Charles Cross, Gray Zabel, Abe Lucas. And it was a run play to Ken Walker off the left side. And there was an offensive coach. I can't remember who it was. I didn't recognize him off the top of my head. But he's just screaming, "Hell yes. Get off the ball. Run those guys off the ball." And he actually said, run their ass off the ball. And watch the replay. It was fun to see that offensive line fire off the ball, get to a spot before the defense was able to get there and clear a hole for K9 to just blast through. So there was like back and forth in this practice. And I don't know what coaches prefer. I think that, to me, is the best kind of practice, when you can point to things that the defense did really well. You can point to things that the offense did really well. And, there's adjustments and there's improvement and there's growth and there's learning and there's some quality play. And like, there was far fewer flags today. Yesterday, there was a ton of flags for offensive procedural stuff. Today, very clean. So, Yeah, I thought a really good day overall. And they worked on some scenarios late, 7 seconds, got to get down for timeout, that kind of stuff. Nothing crazy. I think that really covers a lot of the things that jumped out to me. I think what's one thing that I would just say that's pretty clear is this is still very early in terms of they're still doing installs. They're still getting accustomed to what the plays even are. I think they're going to get faster, obviously, as they get more repetition, and we'll kind of see how that goes as that plays forward. I'm looking through my notes to see if there's anyone else. I think Ricky White had a good day. I mentioned he made that catch on the pass that Jalen Milroe did some push-ups. I thought he must have had 3 or 4 catches today. I thought he looked pretty darn good. Cooper Kupp, I think, caught the most passes I've seen him catch so far. A lot of them were relatively short, not a lot of deep stuff, but still good to see. So that's kind of my instant reaction, which was good for the offense, good for the defense, and the most impressive player out there for like what I saw versus maybe what I thought I would see at this point is definitely Jalen Milroe. So kudos to him and kudos to the coaching staff and everyone who's working with him on getting him to be the player that I think everyone wants to see him become. So good stuff there. I will be with you later tonight, 6:00 for a triple pod Thursday. Evan Hill, Nathan Ernst, myself will do a real Hawk Talk. We haven't done one for a while. We will take some patron questions. If you're not already a patron, why not? Patreon.com/HawkBlogger. It's a great place to go. You get access to the Discord channel where I'm hanging out and other people are hanging out from the crew. Also gets you ad-free audio for this show and all the other podcasts that I do. And then also gets you verified over at hbtix.com, hbtix.com. It's the only place that if you're a Seahawks fan, you want to make sure that you're selling your ticket to a Seahawks fan. That's the place to go, HBTix. And being a patron verifies that you are a Seahawks fan because, trust me, 49ers fans are not paying to be a part of the Hawk Blogger community just to get a ticket for the Seahawks game. So make sure you take advantage, go to patreon.com/HawkBlogger and join what is a really cool community. I think we had another 5 people join this morning. So it's really growing and it's a great group of people. All right. I see I've got some super chats. Let me get to those. Blaze says, love what you do, bro, and how you do it. Big fan. Keep it up. Grind. Keep up the grind. Best Hawks content to me, man. I appreciate that, Blaze. That's nice of you to say, man. We got a new member, Jason Barnes. Welcome to the crew. Great to have you. Blaze, who just gave the super chat, has been a member for 5 months, and he says, hit like and subscribe, boys. Brian got the best Seahawks content, man. I appreciate you, dude. And then Smokehawk, man. Smokehawk's been a big part of the community for a long time. One of our moderators in chat says, do you see the difference in coaching year 1 to year 2? Not so much. I think the closest thing I would say to that is Mike Macdonald is super comfortable in his own skin. He's not guessing at things right now. He's got a pretty clear idea of what he wants and how he wants to approach it. I know, I was talking to him during the off season and, he was, even back then, he was scripting out day by day for training camp, what to go over. Time will tell if that level of planning is the best way to go about it, or maybe Pete Carroll's more of a, we're going to have this theme for this day and we're going to do that every week and whatever. But Mike Macdonald's doing it the way he wants to do it, and he's doing it with the people he wants to do it with. So that's probably the biggest difference I see from year 1 to year 2. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you again shortly. I got a bike home and looking forward to that. Take a quick shower, get a little food, and then we'll talk some more Seahawks football with Nathan Ernst and Evan Hill. Until I see you then, and also tomorrow, I'm Brian M. Hauser. Have a great rest of your afternoon.